But I'd been involved with Barney Curley stuff before and getting wind of stuff and being involved and making really a good profit from it. One of my jobs that John used to get me to do, Johnny Lights used to get me to do, was to follow big trainers and punters around and see what they'd backed. John looked over and saw Barney Curley standing there with his big fedora on, his binoculars, and he said, find out what he's going to do. Just tail him, Jerry, whatever he does. So I stood 20 or 30 yards behind him. He just wandered around. Then all of a sudden he went up to a bookmaker who bet number 2 there. And he went very close to his ear and he whispered into his ear. And the guy looked very demurely back at Barney Curley and went and took the price of the horse off. Well, I didn't need to tell John anything because John had seen it himself. He said, Jerry, he said, whatever money you've got there, he said, you put on this horse. It was 8-1. If anyone else had trained it, it would have been 80. It was mythical, couldn't win. So I started going up to the bookies, 7-1, 1,500 quid each way, no leave off, 750 quid each way, you got a bet. I went to all the big bookmakers that were there, you know, David Richardson, Billy Dyer, everything like that, five monkeys, 5-1 to 800 quid, 4-1, 4,000 a one, 7-2, £1,500 each. I was even trying to get the place, anything I could possibly get. Because my instructor, there was nothing wrong in getting too much on, but you'd want to have everything you possibly could on. 5-2. I think out the 14 grand that I had in my pocket, I'd got about another 700 quid left, and I remember having the last bet at 7-4 to £700. And then people were sick and tired of it by then. It was a small market there midweek, and they weren't taking a penny on the other horses. Anyway, the race went into play. And John and myself walked up to where you used to view. There was that big shuttered building at the end of Folkestone, like a pavilion type building, and there was 3 little sort of steps up. John and I were standing there, and John got his binoculars out and he was looking at the Curley horse. He was in about 3rd place. Went into 2nd with 4 to jump. Bearing in mind he's had, you know, the prices we've had about this horse, it returns a lot of money. We're talking about, even at those prices, 60, 65, 70,000 pound King's ransom. Even the way John played, it was big money. He said, "This is pissed up, Jerry." And he's looking, and now it's taken the lead. And just as he was smiling on his face, and there was that silence where the commentator was saying, and you know, 2 Fleet Street, whatever the horse was called, has gone 3 lengths clear, cantering. And a man from nowhere appeared behind Johnny Lights and tickled his stomach, and he said, "You've done your money, John." And I remember it was like out of one of those old films. Again, just time stood still, and John went, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You've done your money, John." And it was Barney Curley, and he pulled away. And John pulled the binoculars back up. It was 8 in front, and then from nowhere, Murphy, who was riding the horse, just pulled the reins, looked down and pulled it up. And there was a deadly silence at the racetrack. I was speechless. And then about 3 or 4 minutes later, it was walked past the stands with its head collar on. And we stood there all in disbelief, and John said, there weren't courts of inquiry normally when you've done your money, you've done your money. You don't really want to know how it went on. But John went over and he said to the bookmaker who took it off the board, he said, "How much did he have on with you when you took it off the board to cause me to get involved like I got?" And he said, "Well, you know," he said to me, "there's loads of people that are tailing me at the races and putting their nose in my business, all take-out merchants." He said, and he offered me £200. He said he'd give it me next meeting just to take it off his board. And that was all it was.